Connor didn't know he was going to wear it. David was dressing him for that day when he was fighting Mayweather. And then Connor looked at the striping and he goes, oh my God, that is brilliant. Coming out of high school, went to a junior college for a minute. Then I went to FITM and I ended up getting my degree through that. Had an opportunity to ask David August Heil for a job right by Avenue of the Arts in Costa Mesa. And I wanted an internship there. I was hustling hard.
You were hustling because you had a vision. You knew where you wanted to go.
I think my first month sale was $5,000 a month. It went to $10,000, $15,000. I went to 20. It went to 30. I went outside sales and right away, within that year, my business tripled. I was just so happy that I made that choice and had the opportunity.
But it went from David Ricky to David August. The two partners split.
They both wanted me in my business that I had created, and I had a choice to make.
Hey guys, welcome back to Vaulted Views. I'm your host, Ray Lucia Jr. And today, oh my gosh, I am so excited for this interview. I got a longtime friend, Lucas Lujano from David August. He is the clothier to the super megastars like me.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you ever wondered, who dresses this guy, you're talking to him right now. His name is Lucas. And so Lucas, I really wanted to invite you onto the show because you live in a totally different world. I mean, I'm a financial guy, kind of boring, stuffy suit and tie kind of business, but you get to play ball with entertainers and athletes and like really important businessmen in the whole world of fashion.
You know what? I've been very fortunate and lucky. I think, fashion is something that is fun. You should have fun with it. And I've been able to work with people from all different fields from that success plate, and I've just really enjoyed it. And I'm really good at it. So
yeah, I mean it's crazy because I met you back in, I think it was 2001.
Correct.
Right, and we'll get to your backstory a little bit, but I was introduced to you by my ex-brother-in-law. There's going to be a lot of name dropping in this episode, everybody, so pay close attention. Ex-brother-in-law, it's another story. Maybe I'll get him on the podcast someday. Ryan Leaf, former quarterback, NFL quarterback, introduced me to Lucas. I bought my first custom tailored suit from Lucas, and it literally changed my life. How crazy is that to sound like a suit? How does a suit change your life? But when you have a custom tailored suit, especially a guy like me, broad back, a little bit of belly, short arms. You can't just go to Men's Warehouse and fit this body. But, a totally different attitude when I would walk in the office or I'd wear it at an event. I felt like I was somebody and that no one could tell me no. And, so that's when I met you. And we've been doing business together ever since.
Correct. And I think that's very important. And I'm glad you highlighted that because when you do wear something that fits you well and you feel very confident in it, it really exudes and people see it. And, it helps you feel great about yourself and makes you perform on a higher level. So,
yeah, well, I feel great about myself until I get the bill.
Yeah.
Because Lucas, he ain't cheap. He ain't cheap, but he's definitely, there's a return on that investment, folks.
That's right. Image is priceless.
Priceless. We doing MasterCard commercials now? So Lucas, let's go back. I'm really curious, how did you get into the world of fashion? Because that's not, typically, young boys, want to I want to be a fireman or, I want to play in the NFL or, but you are, a fashionista.
I've been one of those guys that have always had a passion for fashion, best dressed at, the high schools and into the different fads growing into the 80s. And, things change a lot, reinventing yourself a lot. So when I had the opportunity coming out of school and work and seeking out David Ricky at the time, which was 30 years ago, started in 1993, I had an opportunity to ask David Heil from David August. He's David August Heil for a job, and I wanted to internship there and eventually get hired. So he did give me the opportunity.
So you took an internship, but before that, you had to go. Did you go to school for this?
I did, and that's coming out of high school. Went to junior college for a minute. Then I went to FITM, and I ended up getting my degree through that.
Yeah, Fashion Institute of Design Marketing.
Correct.
Yeah, my sister actually went there.
You know what? I think it's a great way just to learn about the technical part of it.
Yeah.
But you still have to have something beyond that, I think.
Right. I mean, like I went to school, I was an accounting major, and then I ended up going to work at Deloitte. You know, I mean, you just can't, go to school, get a degree, and all of a sudden you're a superstar accountant, right? You got to get some sort of background knowledge, industry working knowledge, relationships, right? So you hit up David Heil.
David Heil.
Right. And he was partners with Ricky
Lamity.
And the company was called Dave Ricky. That's how I remember it. It was Dave Ricky.
Yeah, David and Ricky.
Yep, David Ricky.
Yeah, David Ricky Custom Clothiers.
Okay. So
that was the company that I was, my first hire in.
Okay, so you start off, you're kind of like an intern, So I'm sure, a young kid coming out of FITM, you had all the money in the world, right? I mean, you were dressed to the nines. I bet you were looking good when you showed up for that job interview.
I was still stuck in my own ways of just living life and thinking of being a designer. I had very long hair. It was all one length. It was all down to my ass, and my hair was my power at the time.
Hair was your power,
and I didn't make any money. I didn't have a worry in the world.
Yeah, like most kids,
From that point on, I started to get the opportunity to do logistics and accepting all the merchandise and coming from, FITM, you start to see everything kind of made, and you see the men's clothing, and you see the buttons, you see the patterns, you see the weights. It's kind of surreal at the moment, right? Because you think, okay, I'm on the road to where I want to be. So I started with just that for about a year.
Okay, so working behind the scenes, seeing the process for about a year, and so.
But I also was looking at the other clothiers and the owners and the way they came in, the way they dressed, the way they carried themselves, the way they were dealing in their relationships with other superstars of business sports entertainment. And I said, wow, I want to be like that. So at that point, I asked them if I can do my normal day job, but also assist in the showroom, which we had a beautiful showroom right by Avenue of the Arts in Costa Mesa, by where the Mastros is now.
Yep.
So I ended up. They said, okay, we're going to give you that opportunity. So
so they must have liked you.
I was ecstatic.
So the hair was your power.
But I was still doing both jobs at the time.
Right.
And I was just assisting. I was kind of like the store kid running around, getting them, drinks, making sure everything was folded and put on the shelves, and assisting him at that point. I was hustling hard.
You were hustling.
At that point.
Because you had a vision. You knew where you wanted to go.
I did.
Right. And that was like a natural evolution for you. If you can just get yourself from behind the scenes and get a foot into the showroom. That was your idea?
That was my whole idea. And once I got that and I saw how they were performing on the higher level, I said, wow, I can't do the other job anymore. I need to do this full time as an assistant in the showroom. So I asked David if I can just be an assistant clothier and assist the other clothiers to have that opportunity to grow from there. And he says, wow, we have a certain look that we have in front of clients, and there's a certain way you got to act, and so certain way that you have to dress. And, to be honest with you, Lucas, the long hair is really not going to work for us. So I was so disappointed.
I think I feel it coming.
I just went to a stylist. I went to a stylist, and they put my hair in a braid, and I just decided, you know what? Let's go. Cut it off. They snipped it, and I had this tail of hair in a braid that I just was almost weeping that evening, thinking about how am I going to show this to Dave, and hopefully he gives me the opportunity, he knows that I'm serious to really go forward with what I want and my dreams are. So the next morning, I got dressed up. I went to David's office. I knocked on the door. He said, come on in. I just reached my hand out with my hair in my hand, all braided down. And he looked at it and he said, "Oh my God, what'd you do? Get your ass in here and sit down." And I'm like, I didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah, you know if he's going to fire you or
fire me, or is this guy weird? Just what is he doing? He goes, "You know what? You've proven something to me right now. And I've seen you come in every day and you trying to just elevate yourself. You got it. You have the job of being the assistant clothier full time." And that was it.
Who knew clothiers were, it was like a gang. It was like a gang initiation. You got to cut your hair off.
You know what?
You did it.
I did it. I did it.
Good for him for giving you the opportunity.
I did it.
You know,
and from that point on, I was in the store and I was assisting, and the store manager and other clothiers, they were sometimes not in the showroom. The manager was starting to do other things outside in sales. So I started to have people walk in and I would start to sell them accessories and things that are on the shelves.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I've already learned how to do, as I was assisting for the year, how to measure people, and I was taking all the measures. So I knew all the work that needed to be done. At that point, client had come in. I think it was Mark Brown from Channel 7 News. He had come in and he said, "Lucas, you know what? I need a dozen shirts." And at that point, you know, shirts were a lot less expensive, but they're very expensive at that time.
Right.
So I ended up doing this sale for a dozen shirts, and that was my first big sale.
No way.
And I said, "Wow!" And I went to once he left, I did my thing. Nobody was in there with me. I went back to the back and I said, "Look what I did! Look what I did! I just sold my first client 12 custom shirts." So I was so ecstatic at that point that that they just let me continue working in the showroom. So I said, "What can I do that's the next level?" And the store, one of the sales managers from the outside says, "Lucas, you know what? If you really want to grow, there's a file cabinets of a lot of existing clothiers that have left the company and have a lot of people that are happy, not happy. Some people haven't been reached out to, and they all have a hard file. And if I was you, I would grab each hard file and reach out to each person, try to get them in here." And so I did. I just said, "Monkey see, monkey do." And I said, if that's the formula, that's what I'm going to do. And sure enough, I would sit there in one of the fitting rooms when nobody was coming around. Once I did all my work, I started going through each file and I reached out to each client and I wrote notes on each one of them, and I would just put them to the side, go to the next, put them to the side. All of a sudden, I started to have some success, and some of the clients would come into the showroom to say, "Okay, well, I haven't been here in a minute. I'll give you guys another shot." It was all over the board.
Wow.
So I ended up selling those people. So my business started to grow and grow. And at that point, the store manager didn't want to come in as often, and he didn't want to work weekends. And I was working Monday through Friday. And I said, "I'll come in on the weekends. I want to do weekends, and I'll do my Monday through Friday." So I was grinding, Ray.
You were willing to do anything it took.
At that point, I wanted to do it. I knew what I had to do. I cut my hair. Let's go.
Love it.
So
you're working 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Young kid. Yeah, you're going through some files. You're making pretty much cold calls, right? I mean,
cold, warm.
Cold,
but you're
yeah.
right. Yeah,
they know
of who we are.
Yeah, but they don't know you.
They don't know me.
Right, and then you're turning basically nothing into something, and you're building something.
Correct.
Amazing.
And I continue. I knew that formula was working, so I even was more passionate about it, and so I kept it going.
So how much revenue were you doing at that time?
I think I went from they would give me my standard salary, which wasn't much, and then I would get a percentage of the commission. And that commission, obviously blew away my salary at the longer time. But it was just like a huge bonus for me at that time.
But your sales were what?
It started at 5,000. I think my first month sale was 5,000 a month.
Okay.
And then from there, it went to 10,000. Then it went to 15,000. It went to 20. It went to 30. At that point, the store manager left. And I said, "Hey, you know what? I've been doing it. I want to be the store manager." And they go, "Oh, well, you're a little young. you've only been doing it for a couple years. We might have to hire somebody else. So they were looking for another manager. I was bummed, but I didn't let it,
phase you
at all. Yeah. I just said, I'm going to prove them wrong. And sure enough, it kept growing to 35. And finally, they saw my numbers and they came to me and said, hey, you know what? Nobody's done these numbers in the showroom. So you've earned the position of being the store manager. And so they gave me the job. Now I had the run of everything.
Wow. It was like your own domain. Right?
My own domain. It was my showroom. People were coming in. We're having drinks. We're doing clothing. We're accessorizing stuff. Now my sales just kept growing. And I built that business in that showroom for about 2 years. And at that point, they came to me again. And they said, Lucas, we're going to do something for you going forward. I said, what are you guys going to do? You can help me buy a house? You're going to buy me a new car? What are you guys going to do? No, we're going to throw you out and we're going to, make you outside sales now. And at that time I said, there's no way. I said, why would you do that? I built my business here. I've proven to you guys. They go, trust me, Lucas, your relationships with these people, you're going to go ahead and get their spheres of influences and you're going to get into different events and you're going to go to their homes and you're going to get referrals and your business is going to double again. And I said, I was just afraid, but I trusted the process. And so I went outside sales and right away within that year, my business tripled. So now I went from
and
30,
you're not earning 60, just a share of 90. Commission. You're getting the full commission.
Now I'm getting commission. They wash out my salary. Now my commission is triple. My pay has been tripled.
Good for you, dude.
So it just grew from that point on. And I was just so happy that I made that choice and had the opportunity.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And so fast forward. So I met you at 2001, I said, right? And I actually visited you in the showroom.
Yes.
Right. Later, and I didn't really understand what was going on, but it went from David Ricky to David August.
Yes.
How did that go down?
Well, the two owners were butting heads at some point, and Ricky had some certain issues in the business. And David was always kind of the rainmaker and the personality. And he was the guy that I looked up to the most. He was the guy that hired me. He was the guy that mentored me. And he was always constructive criticism with him in a good way. So it really kind of polished you, constantly polishing you. At that point,
so you had so obviously the two partners split.
They split.
Right. And you're caught in the middle and you had a decision.
And they both came to me.
Wow.
They both wanted me and my business that I had created through their brand at the time. And I had a choice to make. And I spoke with both of them. I spoke with Rick and I told him I'd think about it. I spoke with David and I knew I was going with David. I just knew it. So at that time, I told Dave that you've got me for as long as you want me. I'm going to be loyal to you like I have in the past. And I told Rick, thanks for the opportunity, but I'm going to work with David. And so from that point, the office went away, the showroom went away. Yep. We had a David Ricky sports store in Newport Beach, off of West Cliff. And we carried a lot of accessories there. Then David built out the back to be our kind of our little offices back there. So we would go out and see clients, bring them into the showroom. And that was our kind of our new store.
Yep.
It was like a store. So we would do that for a while. And then all of a sudden, David was going to get rid of the store and we're going to do a transition into something else. And so he said, you know what? We're going to work out of my house. And at that time, I'm like, wow, we've really came up to be a big company. And then all of a sudden the split, now we have to, give everything up again and go to his house and work. So we did. Me and Chad was his assistant too, which is the other guy that's been with us for 25 years, an amazing clothier. So him, Chad, and myself, and we ordered an assistant to do the processing. We went to Dave's home in Corona Del Mar, and we just
rebuilt the business.
Rebuilt the business from that point. And then eventually he had some money saved away or something. He had an opportunity to buy 1/3 of a building that was at 3140 Airway Avenue in Costa Mesa behind the airport. And it's a kind of more of a, it's more buildings, very private.
Yeah.
So he ended up buying into that. And then he built out a little sliver of that location for our showroom. And we had these little tiny offices inside in the back way. So we were building this business, but we were so happy that we finally kind of landed in somewhere where we can make home. Dave is very meticulous about every little thing. He's a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
He created this beautiful little sliver of a showroom studio and offices. And we rented the other part out, probably to help pay for it all. And we leased it out to another company.
Yep.
And then finally, when we started to really, get successful, he says, guys, we had a meeting. He says, you know what? I'm going to knock down that wall. We're going to make this like in an epic showroom, basketball courts, offices, conference rooms. And so he did. He just, everything he wanted to do and everything he said he was going to do, he did. And he always involved us into it too. So we ended up getting rid of the tenants. He built out that whole area in the back and created our David August brand that he's so passionate about.
It's amazing. And so you went from $5,000 a month in sales to 30 something, 40,000 a month in the store to going to outside sales. Would you say tripling it
to 90?
So 90, something like that,
Correct.
right? You're killing it. You're on this huge trajectory, rebuilt the whole business. And then March 2020 happens. Pandemic hits.
We built that business. I was going from, like you said, $5 all the way to $150,000 a month of every month.
Wow.
In custom clothing. This is stuff that you don't
That's
have
crazy.
Ready made. You're basically telling someone a story. Are you going to be their clothier and take care of that part of their lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not an easy deal. People have to trust in you, obviously, and you've got to perform.
So you're doing what, 150 grand a month
in custom clothes.
In custom clothes, and the pandemic hits.
The pandemic hit. Oh, that was a brutal time, right?
I imagine.
Because
I remember you calling me. I'm like, Lucas, I'm in my pajamas, bro. Like, what am I gonna do?
The rest of the world,
like, what do you got for me? All right.
I wanted to say cashmere pajamas.
Yeah, I bet you did. How much would those have cost?
And slippers. No, we were just in a panic at that point. And David would always say, you know what? Don't panic. We're gonna get through this. So he was always there encouraging us, and nobody was coming to work. And I've always came to work. And David did too. And Chad did too. So we always came to work anyways. And we were just brainstorming and we're trying to figure out, guys still need something. They're going to figure out, what are they doing at home? What are they wearing at home?
Right.
And sometimes they got to pop out and pop in and, I don't know, go get some groceries or, go to the dentist, go to the doctor. Well, let's pivot and let's start thinking of some leisure wear that maybe we can do on a higher level. And we still have all the wonderful fabric from all over the world. So why don't we try to figure out certain parts of the wardrobe where they're going to use it at home and do a little bit more of a casual look. So that's when we started to do track suits.
Like this one. Right here, right?
Like exactly.
This is a pandemic purchase.
It's a track, but it's stuck. People are like, wow,
I love it.
Track suits are in.
It's my deal.
Track jackets, track pants, track suits. Bomber jackets, flight jackets, shirt jackets. All of a sudden, we were making this cashmere shirt jacket that was like $8,000 for clients. They're like, wow. Not when you guys, change into something else. Now the pricing is tripled.
Pandemic, supply chain. But
so we did pivot from that point.
For the record, you never sold me a cashmere.
No, right. So we did had to pivot in that time, and it's actually opened up more opportunity for more parts of the wardrobe so that people can buy more things.
It's really amazing. You know, you think about the pivot. You know, had the pandemic not happened, you guys would still just be doing
just suits,
right?
Yeah, just suits and sport coats.
And you've probably earned more business with new customers because of the expanded wardrobe lineup.
Absolutely. I think that's it's one of those things that happens for a reason, and it's been good for us. So,
well, and you guys have been good for a lot of people too, right? You know, you're involved in charity work. You know, I mean, I know when the different fashion elements like pleats or whatever goes out of style, you come through my wardrobe and you're like, nope, these got to go. These got to go. These got to go. I go, Lucas,
you got to purge.
I'm just like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Where's all this money now? Where's it going? He goes, it's for a good cause. So where do these suits go?
Well, David's on the board for Miracles for Kids, which is an amazing charity. And they obviously help kids with cancer and their families trying to get through that lifetime moment. So we're involved with them very heavily, and we donate a lot of gift certificates and clothing, and they put a lot of big events together, and it's a big deal. Yeah. But when we do go to clients that we like to give to a lot of different charities. One of the charities is the Working Wardrobes. Working Wardrobes is more of a company that tries to help people that are having issues to get kind of back on, men that get back on track. Right. Men and women too, but we specify.
Because you guys mainly...
It's all men. We do all men's custom clothes. So they take your clients. So we put racks and racks of stuff once we purge clients stuff like I have for you and I have for a lot of my other clients, and we take it back to the showroom and we take all the name labels out and all the
the personal elements in there.
Correct. And then we have them pick it up and they just take it, and so they do what they do through their charity. That's Big great. Brothers, Big Sisters, another big company that we get involved with as well. Obviously, Miracles for Kids. So David's involved in a lot of different ones that we do.
So I'd like you to tell a few stories because, this is where the name dropping comes in. Yeah. Right? So it was August 8th, 3 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. I remember where I was. I was at a breakfast restaurant here in town with my son and my daughter. My wife was doing something with her girlfriends. It was a foggy day, and everyone in the restaurant, their phones start going off, and people are literally crying. And my son's in tears, and I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. And it was the day that Kobe Bryant crashed in the helicopter.
It was a terrible day.
Right. And Kobe was a client of yours.
One of our biggest clients. Basketball has been a big part of our business with David before I even got started. But, Jerry West, obviously, all the Lakers, we go into the locker room and we'd see Shaq. And then Kobe came in at the time, became a big client of ours. He really is he's not your typical athlete. When it comes to just his image. He's very classic, and very worldly, very well-traveled. And he wanted to create an image for himself that carried himself that way.
On and off the court, right? So I remember I think you're at my house one time and you're telling me this story that you guys, you came across a bunch of Kobe's clothes?
Well, we've always had a lot of clothing at our showroom, and we've always had a lot of clothing that we were delivering. And so we were always he was buying clothing so often that we've always had some in the tailor shop, some of them ready to deliver, some of them that we delivered. But, since that day, we were getting ready to deliver a bunch of clothing to him. And so we had a whole rack of clothing.
No way.
Maybe 2. It
Wow.
was a lot. And it was a lot of suits, sport coats, even car coats, joggers. He loved joggers, shirt jackets. He was already kind of like ahead of the game. Very sport driven,
Sporty,
as
yeah.
well as all of, the very elegant suits that he would wear. So I think that's what happened is we ended up having clothing that we just sat on for a while, and we reached out to see if they were going to pick it up, and they just didn't have any place to put it.
Right.
It was so full. Maybe she didn't want to deal with it at the time either, his wife.
I mean, it's understandable, right? I mean, Vanessa had a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
But that just must be just amazing to think that you've got, a piece of history, really. Like, who would have thought, Clothier, coming up from nothing, right? Working with one of the world's most, successful athletes, only to prematurely pass. And here you are, you've got some of his clothes. That's just amazing. Maybe someday she'll swing by the store and pick it up, right?
Yeah.
So, well, that's kind of, I was hoping that'd be a more fun story. What was he like? I mean, so was he cool to hang around with? Like when, or was he like superstar-ish, or, what was it like with Kobe?
Very cool initially. Obviously, when we had first started, very cool. Loved all the clothing. Couldn't get enough of it. Very friendly. And then I think at some point there was that little bit of that scandal that had come out.
Yeah, I remember that. That was probably not his best moments, right? So his demeanor kind of changed with you a little bit.
I think so.
It was like a roller coaster.
I think he became just a little bit more private at that point.
Yeah,
a little bit more standoffish. But everybody knows they understand why, right?
Yeah, of course.
But
they never come back.
You know what he did?
He did.
At some point, he just came out of that, mindset and says, you know what? He's Kobe Bryant. He's one of the best basketball players in history.
Yeah.
And his personality overshined it, and so I think he just got back to where he was supposed to be, and a wonderful family of beautiful, a great husband, an amazing father. So it's just funny how life can change and takes time for you to kind of, figure it out.
Yeah. Everyone goes through ups and downs. So, before we tell a few more stories, what's the experience? Yeah, everyone's probably wondering, okay, when Junior buys one of your fancy outfits, what is that experience like? Like, if I was going to hire you to be my clothier, what's it like? You are mine, but someone else watching, walk them through the experience.
I think the experience is all about, listening to your client to make sure what his lifestyle, what are his needs, what is he looking for? Everybody doesn't need a million suits in their closet, although some of them are adding a lot of them in their closets at all times, but they don't need a lot. They need, 6 different pieces in their wardrobe for a lot of different occasions. But I think once I meet with a client or us as clothiers, we kind of figure out what their lifestyle's like. Okay, what are their needs for just your daily to certain events that they might be, going to. And a lot of the guys, sometimes they don't want to go to events because they don't have the proper look, or they don't want to, they don't want to show up in the wrong clothing. And I think that's what we do is we kind of put, lifestyle moments and let them know, what are you going to do with this pint if this happens? So the client right away, he goes, you know what, I need one of those. And so once we meet with them, we figure out what we want to provide for their wardrobe. We completely take their measurements, and there's 100 measurements that you're taking from a client. So we're made from scratch. We're not a glorified alteration company that just makes stuff.
Yeah, because some folks will take a suit that's off the rack and then just tailor it from there.
Or sometimes they'll do a semi-tailoring. Like if you're going to go to a custom place and you're asking for a certain width of the lapel, certain pockets, certain linings, they won't do it. So they're not making it from scratch.
Got it.
We do. We make it from scratch. Any little thing that they might be looking for, we can create it and design it for them with our, guidance to make sure that it's appropriate. So once we take complete measurements, we know kind of what their necessities are, and we start to show them fabrics. And so we always are taught to keep showing clients fabrics and showing them different looks. And if they can afford it, they typically want it. So we don't sell what people need. We sell what people want. And once you completely, provide that, show them that, educate them in that manner, and then 6 weeks later, the clothing comes in, and we put it on the client, and you see the ego go through the roof.
Is that what you see every time you show up at my house?
The confidence, the power. And for me, it's really cool to see.
The transformation.
The transformation from
when I show up in my sweats and then you're putting the suit on me at my house.
It comes from just a normal kind of a face look to a big happy smile, So I don't know. I think it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty fun actually.
And the thing that really kind of the cherry on top is when they go out and they wear it and they get tons of compliments on it and they come back and tell you, that's like, okay, it's locked in. They can't shop anywhere else.
How many text messages you got from me, huh? Over the years?
All the time, right?
Oh yeah.
And so
like one of my favorite sport coats you made for me. I remember I'm watching TV and I think it was LaDainian Tomlinson actually. LaDainian's on TV and he's wearing the camouflage.
That's right.
Remember that one?
That's right.
He's wearing a camouflage sport coat. And I take a picture of LT. I text it to you. I go, did you do this for LT? And next thing you know, I can do it for you. And so you made me, I think his what might have been gray or navy blue. No,
but it comes in a lot. It comes in like a few different colors.
But I want navy blue. So I got navy blue camo. And on the inside, we did an American flag.
Oh,
that's my favorite.
I love that. That American flag was such a cool look, and I don't know if we did that when we started that whole American flag, maybe 9/11.
I think it was, yeah, way back then, yeah.
During that time,
yeah.
Now with the new election and stuff, people are liking the American flag again.
Yeah,
on the inside of the lining,
you're doing a lot.
It's coming back again, so I'm like, wow.
Yeah, we'll probably have to do a few more American flags. Because that one, I don't get the chance to wear that sport coat a lot, just because people remember it.
Yeah,
but maybe we need to do something kind of just plain, maybe just a black or a navy with the flag on the inside. It's
an undercover style or sense of fun, right? Because you don't see it, you don't see the lining. It doesn't have to match your shirt tie. It doesn't have to go with the outfit. You just take it off and you put it on the chair and people look and go, "Oh my God, what is that?"
Yeah,
that's what a killer lining that is. So it's a very kind of a cool look.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Good little detail,
Yeah. So so all smiles. Then what? Usually there's some alterations you got to do after the fact.
Well, typically once we do the fitting, we have our tailors on site, so we can tweak and we can do little movements there and alterations in our shop and get it right back to the client, so that they can wear it and they love it, and then obviously they want more. And
so do you go to everybody's house, or do you have clients meet you at the showroom, or both?
We do a lot of both, but I think the meat of what we do is probably at people's homes or offices. The showroom's just there to have a lot of the...
That's my favorite part, honestly, because I hate going to the mall. Yeah. I hate shopping. It's just not my thing. You can come to my house. You can show me some new stuff. And usually he's got some tricks, actually. I'm gonna tell everyone your trick last time.
What am I, a magician?
Oh yeah, you're the magician Clothier. But you can come to my house and we can bang it out in about an hour, right? And 6 weeks later, I've got a whole new setup and it fits perfectly. And I never have to step inside of Nordstrom's. It's fantastic. So this dude shows up at my house, and he's got this bitchin' jacket, and I'm like, "What is that?" He goes, "Well, we made that for Joe Rogan." Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
This guy brings Joe Rogan's coat to my house, and he goes, "You want to try it on?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I'd like to see how big Joe Rogan is." Yeah, it was like 8 sizes too small for me.
He's a big boy, man. He always calls himself like an ape, man, because I
think the sleeves were like up to here on me. I could barely get the coat around. But that was cool. So, of course, I got to get a coat like Joe Rogan. I do a podcast. Maybe we'll get Joe on Vaulted Views sometime.
That would be fun.
He can school me on this stuff. Maybe he'll talk some shit about the size of my clothes being way too big. So another time he shows up, he's got these shoes. And I'm like, what are those? Oh, well, we partnered with Santoni. Santoni? All right, I'm wearing Santoni.
And as Dino, we have a couple of partnerships, but Dino Certo is another big partnership out of Italy. That's
okay. So, but this is the kind of stuff that they do, right? And it's like black alligator Santonis,
sneaker
Santonis,
elevated,
and whatever that means, elevated. They're bitching. And I'm like, I gotta have those. They're like, no one has them, but I got a pair. And
they come in black, navy, brown.
I could only afford one pair.
They're very pricey. Gators are expensive.
They're great though. So the tricks of the trade. We like to have a good time. Yeah. So we talk about Joe Rogan. How did you get connected with Joe?
Well, Joe was a guy that was doing commentating for the UFC. Dana White, David August Heil was dealing with Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta, who owned the UFC before they sold it. Obviously they bought it, I think, for 2.53 million, sold it for 4-point-something billion dollars. Yeah. So the rest is history. Mm-hmm. But David was taking care of those guys, and I was taking care of all the talent in the UFC. So whenever they had some of the other commentators, some of the other fighters.
Wait, did you do Conor McGregor's suit?
David did.
So, but that's your company.
That's our company.
So that's the suit where he's got pinstripes. And if you zoom in on the pinstripes, it says "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
It's a chalk stripe navy suit with the letters FUCKYOU up and down the suit. And Conor didn't know he was going to wear it. David was dressing him for that day when he was fighting Mayweather. And so David went to go deliver the outfit to Conor, got him dressed. And then Conor looked at the striping and he goes, "Oh my God, that is brilliant." And so
it fit his personality perfect, by the way.
He ate it up. Obviously Conor's that guy. When they put it up and they were face to face and the camera was on the suit, somebody said, "Can you believe what's going on in that writing?" So they zoomed into that chalk stripe and they read it, and the thing went viral. All over the world, people were going, "No way. Who made him that suit? Who is his designer? Who is his clothier?" So David ended up making a bolt of this fabric, and he numbers each one of them. It was probably 3 times the amount of a regular suit, maybe 4. But we ended up selling a lot of those all over the world to people, and David would sign it and he would number it and the clients would be wearing it.
Wow.
It was very cool.
That's
and now cool. Now David's even carried it to the next level, and he's made shirt jackets out of it, bombers out of it. You can do anything out of that fabric.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, maybe if you give me a deal, I'll do one day.
Yeah. They're very cool.
So
and ties too. He did the ties. He did the ties in there. He did like 3 different colors.
Oh my gosh. So but Rogan, you've known him for a long time, right?
I have. I've been working with him since he was just commentating for the UFC. And I was going to his office in LA and I was dressing him with that. And I just did all black shirts because that's all he wore, and black pants was all he wore. So I did that for a while. He didn't ever want to wear a suit. He's never wanted to wear a suit. He doesn't want to wear a suit. Finally, he had some event that he had to have a suit for. So I made him his first suit. And so he was a hard fit because he's got a big chest, small waist, long arms, for how short, not short, but just for his stature.
Proportionate.
His proportion. So, he called me back and he says, my wife wants me to have a few more. So I laid out, he ended up doing a big order with me on that initial fitting. A big order for me was maybe 4 outfits for him at that time when it came to suits. And so time went around. He was wearing at them, going to events here and there. And he eventually moved to Texas. And he said, Lucas, you know what? My wife wants me to get a few more. Can you come out and see me? So I ended up going to his house in Texas. And I brought a lot of it. David prepped me for this appointment. He goes, you need to bring everything with you. And you need to bring an assistant with you to help you. Yeah. And at the time I did. And so I brought all the casual stuff, the bomber jackets, the shirt jackets, the track jackets. And so I just sat with Joe at his home and I laid out a bunch of suitings that I thought he would like. And he just started to say, I like that one. I like that one. He must have did $100,000 with me in that one sitting, just buying a bunch of clothing.
Wow.
And this was, after the podcast went crazy and he was, a different guy. And
it's a big deal.
And so that relationship just grew and built better. And he became such a great client and he was very cool. He was always just, super humble, super nice.
He's referred to you other guys too, right?
Tons of guys. When was this? Probably 6 to 8 months ago. He says, you know what, Lucas, I want you to come to my studio because I have a couple of buddies here. And it was Shane Gillis at the time. He has a wedding in a few weeks. I don't know if you can make it in time. I said, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll make it happen. So I flew out and he goes, you know what? I got a couple of other guys, Kill Tony. I want Tony Hinchcliffe here, Brian Simpson, Ari, Eric Vern. I was like a bunch of guys that he just wanted me. No way. And so he sat there, he goes, hey, I want you to measure all these guys and I want you to make them a few outfits each.
No
way. And he
way.
just took care of everybody. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that was going to happen.
All right. So when you're measuring Shane, did he do the Trump impersonation for you?
No, he did not. But man, he is funny. He is a funny guy.
Oh my gosh.
And they're cracking up and telling little jokes and talking about what happened last night. And I it's private.
You realize most people would pay to just be in that room with those guys. And you're getting paid to, outfit them. That's amazing.
And once I did, and I got them dressed, and I don't think they're used to wearing really nice custom suits. I think Joe's really introduced them to that. And so they were all texting me later, saying, Lucas, you absolutely killed it. The clothing is perfect. Shane Gillis goes, I can't believe how great I look. Everybody's telling me how amazing I look. So I was like, wow, I did my job.
Yeah, you did your job, man. That's awesome. So, so this has been a great little journey.
Great journey.
Great
people, different levels. And some people are better. Some people are not that great. But for the most part, I've had great experiences.
Yeah. And so not just athletes and celebrities, but executives too.
Yeah. Henry Samueli, for example, probably one of my biggest sales ever and the first time I've ever sitting. Henry Samueli was the owner of Broadcom, a big tech company. And I ended up cold calling him and his partner, Henry Nicholas. It's a whole different story. But Henry Samueli was a professional. Nicholas was the student, created this big company. Everybody in the company became millionaires. And the two owners obviously are billionaires.
Right. We all know Broadcom.
But he was buying clothing at the Men's Warehouse. So I can you imagine the pricing from that to, okay, Henry, now you're spending at the time, $4,000 on a suit. He was like, wow. And his wife was like, yeah, you deserve it. You need it. And so I got the opportunity to do a couple of outfits and he loved it. She loved it. So I said, okay, Henry, now you know what we do. I'd like to really come to your home, analyze your wardrobe and kind of just make sure that you have all the clothing pieces that you need. He says, okay, great. I ended up going to his home. We ended up creating a complete wardrobe. From suits to slacks to sport coats to shirts and just fill them in with all the accessories, the shoes, the ties, the cufflinks, the belts. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so that was my big, real eye-opening to, providing these guys with a service and clothing that they really love. And it was awesome.
Wow. I mean, you're like big baller clothier. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, one transaction like that's 6 figures.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing to think where you came from, right? Long-haired kid out of Fit'em, working in the back of the store, folding boxes and clothes and stuff like that to, and all the whole journey is fascinating to being able to hang out with billionaires.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So, as we wrap up the show, Lucas, I know you got a little tidbit of advice that you'd like to give everybody, from your perspective, what would you like to say?
I mean, I just think everybody should dress for success. I think image is very important. First impressions are priceless. If you go into a room and you look great, you speak well, you can connect with people, build relationships, I think that's the formula. And I think clothing is a big part of it. So I always tell people, be the best dressed guy in the room and you'll see what happens.
And you know what? I'm in one way, shape, or form, I'm living proof of that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everything you've done for me over the years. And I know this was your first podcast.
Yeah, my first podcast.
This is only my 10th.
Yeah.
So, something like that.
You're seasoned.
I'm seasoned. I'm a seasoned pro by now. But I appreciate you kicking it with me here in the vault.
Well, thank you.
And sharing your words of wisdom, and your stories are amazing, and there's so much more. And so thank you for joining us.
This is fun.
Maybe we'll
remind me of a lot of things in my past that I forgot about. So I really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you. And thank you all for tuning in this week on Vaulted Views. We'll catch you all next time. And this is Lucas Lujano, superstar clothier from David August. Yeah, you guys should check him out.
Great being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Take care.